As revolutionary as the R1T was, perhaps it was inevitable that the still excellent R1S was destined to be a less exciting evolution of the Rivian formula. It's slightly smaller than a Mercedes-Benz GLS and a touch bigger than an Audi Q7, with seating for 7 and decent cargo storage behind the third row's reclining seats. From the B-pillar forward, it's identical to the R1T except for a single change: the control for the rear wiper on the turn signal stop. A 16-inch horizontal touchscreen in the center of the dash controls most features in the car, and the lag that I noticed in my drive of the R1T last year has been eliminated. There's no physical volume knob, which is still annoying, as is the lack of support for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. If you navigate to destinations beyond what your current range can handle, the Rivian SatNav will recommend DC fast charging stations from Electrify America, the Go Charge Point, and its own Rivian Adventure Network, which is a must-have feature these days. The rear liftgate is a split setup like a Range Rover, and there's room for a week's worth of groceries and then some, thanks to 17.6 cubic feet of storage. There are sliding tie-down loops and a relatively spacious hidden storage compartment beneath the floor that houses a first aid kit and hookups for the standard onboard air compressor. Folding down the third row is a manual affair, somewhat annoyingly, but that bumps your rear storage to 46.7 cubic feet, which should satisfy just about everyone's travel hauling needs. If that isn't enough, there's a voluminous power front that's 22.7 inches by 25.4 inches by 54.8 inches with the cargo shelf removed. The second row power folds with a 40/20/40 split configuration, giving an enormous one of 4.7 cubic feet of total interior storage volume. The second row seats are comfortable, with plenty of legroom and a generous recline. They also slide forward to give extra space to the passengers in the third row. Adults probably won't want to spend a 4-hour road trip in the way back, but if you slide the second row seats forward a bit, there's plenty of room. There are also cup holders and small storage cubbies with USB-C power ports to keep the kids and their devices fueled up. There's no rear seat entertainment, aside from the enormous panoramic sunroof that extends to the second row, plus an extra sunroof over the third row, so the R1S feels spacious and airy regardless of your seat. Big SUVs like the R1S are, after all, about moving people and stuff from place to place, and the big Rivian excels at this. But there's nothing I've talked about here, aside from the front, I suppose, that's different from any other big SUV. They all have room for lots of people and stuff. The Rivian just does it without consuming any fuel or spewing CO2 everywhere. Still, it's a big SUV with 4 electric motors making 835 horsepower and 908 feet-to-pound of torque and a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of close to 3 seconds. That means you get 4-wheel torque vectoring and impressive wheel control on road and off, thanks to Rivian's in-house dynamics and handling work. It seems likely that most R1S vehicles, like the R1T pickup, won't wander too far from the pavement, but if you go off the beaten path, the Rivian will take great care of you. There are 3-wheel options, all with Pirelli rubber, including 20-inch all-terrain off-road tires that seem to be the preferred pick for Rivian engineers. The R1S's 4-corner air suspension lifts to a maximum of 14.9 inches of ground clearance and 3 feet of water fording. It can tow up to 7,700 pounds and can drop to 8.8 inches to make it easier to load the aforementioned people and stuff. The R1T was an impressive off-roader, and the R1S boasts even better specs in approach, 35.6 degrees, departure, 34.3 degrees, and a breakover angle of 29.6 degrees. In addition to its spacious interior cargo storage, the R1S also has a large front. Only the quad-motor, large pack version is available at launch, good for 316 miles on the EPA range test. The sold-out launch edition that I drove priced out to around $98,000. That's a lot of money, but when you consider the fact that it has more horsepower, faster acceleration, and better off-road prowess than a Mercedes-Benz AMG G63, which starts at well over $150,000, and that it's not hard to get a GLS into that price range, it starts to seem a bit more reasonable.